Of course, we have our guests already in studio. We'd like to also hear from them this morning. And after other issues we'll be discussing, remember this also is a very intense week when it comes to nominations of ODM and Jubilee. For Jubilee, it will be starting on Friday. It will be one full day that is chock full of nominations all over the country. And of course, we shall be covering that live for you, wall-to-wall coverage on Friday as well. Allow me to introduce our guest this morning. We have with us Senator Boni Khalwale from Kakamega. We have also Senator Mutula Kilonzo Jr. from Makueni, and we have also Senator Kimani Wamatangi from Kiambu. The rest of our panelists are not here. It seems they were taking a lot of cuckoo over the weekend, and a lot of them also, they're away because of nominations. Jacomido is away because of nominations as well. Haman Manyura is away, not because of nominations, because also he traveled. A very good morning to you.
Good morning. Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. All right, let's just begin especially with what happened in Busia. And now we are given to understand there will be a repeat of these nominations, especially Teso North and Teso South. And what a turnout, that we had 100% turnout for, voters of Ojaamong. Were you surprised by this, Honorable Khalwale?
It's unfortunate that Jacomido is not here. He should have been the one guiding us. I have no idea what's going on in ODM. And I want to confirm that the worse ODM performs, the better for me, because they are my opponents in Western, and particularly in Kakamega. So let them continue messing themselves up.
But looking at the metrics, truly, all right? 100% turnout, and the way it is right now with
it's impossible.
It's impossible.
It's impossible. What we are doing is just a fiasco, an attempt to have a particular person receive the ticket. That's all.
All right. So
because if you ask me technically, how would somebody commit an election offense? Yeah. Then instead of punishing that person, you tell him we are giving you another opportunity
to cheat,
to repeat the same mess or redeem yourself. So we don't want to talk about it. Let them continue messing themselves.
All right. So
and let me tell you something.
Yes.
The nominations in Busia of ODM preceded the ones of Kakamega. And by 11 in Kakamega, people were chanting, give Otuoma the certificate or we shall not go into the nominations of Kakamega. And I thought it was very weird. Yeah. They're saying, Baba, give Otuoma the nominations certificate. Otherwise, we shall not go into the Kakamega nominations. And I was enjoying it and liking it because it's all to my advantage.
All right, so Mutula, are you really espousing also the position of Paul Otuoma? Because it says you should be given the ticket directly instead of going again for the nominations, the repeat of the nominations. Because it seems he has bugbears and fears. He says whatever really happened before, it will repeat again if we go for the second nominations.
I'm more concerned about the findings of the Elections Board of ODM. First of all, I must say that I absolutely condemn the use of violence, the use of propaganda, the use of all these sorts of nonsense in primaries. And it makes, I know Senator Boni Khalwale is having a good time when all these things are happening. But when I look at it from a larger picture, it paints our partners in NASA in such bad light that we all look bad and smell bad, and we don't do those things. But more importantly, when, speaking now as a lawyer, when it is said that there was a problem in Teso, instead of the Elections Board confirming what exactly happened, they say repeat the election. What if this man went and collected and packed ballot papers into ballot boxes? Like Senator Boni Khalwale has said, it's an election offense. You disqualify that person.
Complete.
You don't give him another opportunity to cheat because he cheated in the first place. He broke the rules. We must punish people who break rules. We don't give them a slap on the wrist because that is not democracy. And Paul Otuoma is right because he's saying, what is going to change? They are going to change the officials.
The officials, yeah.
But are they going to change the people who are going to vote? And just for that select few, can you actually call it a repeat election? It's like cancelling an election in 10 constituencies and leaving one. It's just not possible. The result is already determined. And the result is already premeditated. And therefore, the repeat of the elections in Teso will not solve the problem. And Otuoma is right. He has given a deadline. We are waiting to see what he is going to say, what is going to happen today. But I must tell you that we are back again into the party primaries. I have stated that we as parliamentarians must go back to the drawing board and then start asking ourselves hard questions. Is this all our parties, Orange Democratic Movement, Wiper Democratic Movement, yet we practice nothing near democracy?
But what is the recourse maybe for the tribunal, the political parties tribunal in this? Is there any provision when we have such a scenario?
There are two issues.
Yes.
When Jubilee was merging, we passed a law against my own wishes, myself as a person, that there is no provision for the political parties tribunal to deal with party primaries at this point. In the current legislation that we passed in the Controversial Election Laws Amendment Bill, we passed a law, something called inter-party disputes, where those disputes are supposed to be determined. So, in real essence, is that there should be a person determining that dispute. A dispute should have been determined by somebody so that you make a finding. But the National Elections Board of ODM has not made a finding to the extent that they have dealt with the issue. The issue is somebody stuffed ballot papers. Where did those ballot papers come from? Who did it? And in whose favor was it? There is no determination. What they did is say, okay, just repeat this election. We'll give you more ballot papers.
So they're just glossing over the issue, and it is really systemic.
Is glossing over. It's actually extremely casual, because what is going to happen? But for some strange coincidence, it's one of the first primaries that they have done. You're yet to get into the more contentious primaries, and people have gone to the extent of stuffing ballot papers. What is to stop other contestants from doing the same? Now, if ODM has decided that for every election where somebody stuffs ballot papers, where there is violence, where a person tears ballot papers, you repeat the election. Up to what time are we going to finish? Up to when will I finish these primaries? It's a question of concern.
All right. Okay, let's hear from Honorable Wamatangi. On Friday also is a big day for Jubilee.
Yeah.
All your nominations in one day. Don't you think you are overplaying your hands?
First on Busia.
That's right.
I said you're trying to divert my attention and bring me to Friday. Let's first talk about Busia and ODM and NASA. But even before I make my comments, Debarl, I would have wanted to also hear from you. What did the Nation Media House, the Nation Media Group, what did you do about the Busia debacle? Because I saw in the news that there was even a fake publication of the newspaper itself, of the Daily Nation, alleging that one of the candidates had defected,
Yeah.
And probably you'd have started by saying, by distancing the Nation Media Group.
Of course, we distance ourselves from that. It was a fake one. So that then, our legal department is on it.
Okay, yeah, I mean, just on a light touch, because you needed to be careful, otherwise Boni Khalwale may take it on you to say that you're trying to plot the downfall of NASA.
Don't try.
But I wanted to say very few things. First, I remember in a certain debate with Boni, he said that political parties are private members' clubs. Yes. You remember? And this is coming true out. You can see precisely what's happening now. Look at the process of what happened in Busia. All those anomalies seen, clear, announced, and my good friends have talked about them. But still, an official who is already commissioned by ODM and by extension by NASA still went ahead and stood in front, protected, and announced the results.
Yeah.
Irrespective of all those anomalies, of all the protests, the contestations, and all those things you've had, but still somebody rose up and announced the results. And I remember watching, he repeated the results for the winner twice. to ensure that that is the correct position. Now, what does that tell you? That tells you that that was official. It was not, it had not just come from that level. That was a decision pre-made before, that this is going to be the winner. You know, and whatever happens, you have to announce that particular winner. And I think, I don't want to speak much because I have never believed in either the ideologies or ideas or anything that ODM does. By extension, actually, NASA, if it exists still as of this morning. but you know, I want to say a few things. One, as long as the politics of this country, and especially as advanced by our friends in NASA, continue to be revolved and domiciled around tribes. And look at what was happening and what is actually happening in Busia now. Exactly what you have heard Senator Khalwale talking about. That morning, in his own county, people are saying, give Otuoma the ticket or we don't go. You know why they were saying that? Because they're lawyers. They have reduced the contest in Busia into a lawyer-Teso contest. Yeah. Absolutely. It's a tribal contest. Yeah. And I tell you, sometimes you may want to take a back seat first and look and ask yourselves, how does the ODM team themselves advance? Because I mean, it's a big stakes game. I mean, either they lose the Tesos and they retain the lawyers, depending on how they act. But probably this decision they are making to have the elections repeated is probably out of a process. You know, once you have announced a winner, then to say that you're only going to declare a winner, also, to say that he won, of course, I mean, even in other elections, that doesn't happen. So if the process was flawed, maybe what they would do is repeat. But however, I want to summarize this by saying this, that I think what these guys have done in ODM in Busia, you remember it was just a week before we had the road show by Ongoro here in Kasarani, you remember? No, the drama. Just a week before. And you have not seen it yet in the newspapers. And I think it is on page 3, you have already seen Governor Murutu dressed in full colors of ODM. He is here, I think, in one of the pages, standing guard with all his people here. And he is saying, we are standing here, and they have already blocked the halls in Mwatate. And they are saying there will be no elections today of ODM. Because, yes, it is here in the newspapers. And
that's page...
yes, that's in page 9.
Page 9.
Yes. And so... what are you seeing here? You are seeing, yes. and what you are saying simply is that this is simple proof that there should be no speculation. One, this party called ODM in the first place does not practice anything anywhere close to democracy. Two, I think you should, gentlemen, you should divorce yourselves from these guys. Because Senator Mutula here, Mutula says here that they're making NASA smell. I mean, are you trying to tell Kenyans that it has taken you this long to know that NASA smells? That's one hell of a long time. I mean, it's not smelling, it's rotten. You know, so I just want to say this in passing. This is a camaraderie that should be condemned. It is absolutely undemocratic. ODM should be banned. They should be banned from participating in elections, let me tell you. Because
of Ojaamong?
I mean all over. From Mongoro to Mwatate now, this the gentleman, to Busia.
But are we also getting...
They simply don't have the capacity to conduct a democratic process of elections. And the political parties tribunal, the registrar of political parties should take a first step and determine, is this party, do they have really the capacity, the will, the intent? Do they still follow within the law that would allow them to continue this process?
All right. Yeah. So because you don't have
we should repeat this conversation on Tuesday next week.
When we have ODM members as well in the house, so that they can actually state their case as well.
Sonko and PK have quarreled and done Nairobi upside down.
But I tell you, good people. I tell you, good people. You know, really, you know, you can have a contest, you can have disagreements, but there is also extremism in it.
What are you talking about?
This is extreme.
That's what I'm simply saying. You know, when we must condemn it. He cannot just point fingers at us like that. And I'm simply saying, by the time they finish the primaries in Kiambu for governorship, forget about the ones for senator.
Yes.
Peacefully, without a burning bush, and in Nairobi, peacefully, without a burning bush, my friend, you call me back to answer those questions. Because there's going to be hell, fire, and brimstones, like they said in the Bible.
In one day.
Jubilee. In one day.
At least. You know. So we're going to have pockets of bushes fire everywhere.
Probably the only difference is going to be this.
It's going to be a lot of fire.
And you might see that if there is going to be any contest, it will be probably spontaneous. It will be about politics. It will be about the individuals. But this already visible, structured violence, predetermined winners,
Debarl, for a minute.
Club culture in a political party that says that it is only those in the family, it is only those within the community, it is only those who have that can be leaders.
All right, thank you.
That is the thing.
Okay, let's hear from
Mutula. I've said this before, that it's in our interest for the democracy and for the progress of this country that we have strong political parties, strong political systems, and strong laws to manage political parties. I've said the minute the political parties allowed people to cross over to Jubilee, sit on the Jubilee side, and they were not punished, we brought impunity into political parties. And that is extending into party primaries. And therefore, we must think about it very carefully, because the development of this country is strongly dependent on having political parties that are properly managed for purposes of our elections. Because it's a small reflection of what is going to happen in August. If you recall, and I mentioned that there was this launch of this smart card by Jubilee, which they have since abandoned. Why did they abandon it? Ask yourself the question. Because Paul Kimani Wamatangi, the billionaire, was able to afford to buy many cards, and his contestants were not able to. I'm not saying he did, but I'm saying he has capacity to do so. So what formula are we going to use in future? We, at some point, reduce the political parties so that you could have strong political parties, 2 or 3, so that then you can move the country forward. What is going to happen in the next general election? Everybody will have something, a party called a rabbit, party called a tortoise, party called a buffalo, party called anything. Because nobody is going to go to party primaries. They're going to say, let's meet at the general election. And therefore, the idea of having a strong democracy will be defeated by the mismanagement of these primaries.
All right, but let's say from Honorable Khalwale, we'll come to you.
I think at this stage, having agreed with Junior that we are holding this discussion prematurely, because the other parties are yet to go through the assembly exercise like ODM is doing, for us to be able to compare and contrast. Having agreed that, I think even now I can speak on way forward. The way forward is for us to understand that political parties are a private members' club. And therefore, like in all other major democracies, in the UK, for example, they sit and decide that constituency X, they'll field Mutula Kilonzo Jr. on Labour. Labour decides. How they go about it is their business. It is up to their opponents to come up with somebody to remove him. It's very critical that we realize the issue of internal party election is a myth. It cannot be sustained. In fact, when I spoke to this as a member of the NASA coordinating committee, when there was an attempt to hold joint primaries, I was speaking exactly to this. I knew you attempt that, you kill NASA that very day.
Totally.
You can imagine if Otuoma now was the Fort Kenya aspirant in a joint nomination with Ojaamong of ODM.
Yes.
People would have killed each other.
Completely.
Yeah. But at least because they're in one party, they can still sit and talk. So the thing to know is that the only election that takes place in this country is the one that is presided over by the IEBC. Period.
The rest is not.
The rest is just a joke. I tell you.
So the reason of actually fending off IBC, or is the IBC, were they really, did they see this sort of skirmish is really coming, and they said, no, we don't want to be, associated with the primaries at all?
Can I
because
conclude
there was
by that?
That particular idea that was mooted.
I want to conclude by referring now to Jubilee. In Jubilee, they started off by saying, we want to do it so well, let us have the smart card.
Yes.
And they ended up stealing from disparate potential leaders. The scam is waiting, worth hundreds of millions of shillings. David Mratha will have to answer to it. Then they said the people to participate in the nominations of Jubilee will only be registered members.
Yeah, party members.
Yeah. So my Jubilee friends have been holding meetings where they are keeping the delegates in a mood of saying that don't leave, moving together, spending money on them. Then I think 2 days ago, David Mratha and co. then say, no, we are not going to use delegates, we are going to use the IEBC register. So the people who have been doing track, include my own brother Wamatangi, I have seen his truck now has changed its noise. It's there. So the amount of chaos that will be in Jubilee, you cannot even imagine.
It's going to be chaos.
You can't imagine. Those goons of what do you call him? Of Sonko. When they come into town.
With PK.
And PK will come with more goons.
We'll have to shut down the city.
Oh, you'll have to shut down the city. On Friday.
But you raised a question about IBC.
Yeah, IBC or overseeing the primaries.
IBC. In the Joint Select Committee where I sat with Senator Boni Khalwale, Jubilee mooted the idea of their primaries being conducted by IEBC. Of course, at the time, Senator Boni Khalwale can confirm, I mean, since they thought that was a big issue, we didn't think it was an issue. But we knew that IEBC would not be able to conduct it. It was not within the constitution for them to do their primaries. But they still went ahead and even provided in the new law that Parliament will provide a kitty for them to conduct their primaries. I still think it was an attempt to bring people into their coalition, but that whole scheme has collapsed entirely. So as my colleague is mentioning, and it appears even in the newspapers and dailies today, that shift from cards, not cards, from registers, not registers. Now I hear about something about ballot boxes. Ballot boxes will be inspected, papers will be inspected, no inspection. Those things will come to the fore on Friday. Ijumaa
wiki hii.
Wiki hii.
Let's take a short break on that note. We'll come back. No.